Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ebony Freeman. I'm the Communications and Development Manager here at Knowles Science Teaching Foundation. Thank you for joining us for today's webinar. The purpose of this webinar is to provide you with an overview of the Knowles Science Teaching Foundation and our Teaching Fellows program. Today's presenter is Jennifer Mossgrove. She's the Senior Program Officer for Teacher Development for Team 1. Jen will take you through a brief presentation, then leave time at the end for a question and answer session. At this time, I'd like to turn the presentation over to Jen.
Good afternoon, everyone. I want to tell you a little bit about the fellowship and KSTF. The Knowles Science Teaching Foundation, or KSTF, was founded in 1999 by Janet and Harry Knowles. KSTF is committed to improving STEM education in the United States by focusing specifically on supporting beginning high school science and math teachers. The fellowship program is a 5-year coherent professional development experience that is designed to meet the needs of beginning high school science and math teachers. In addition to experiencing the professional development within a community of other beginning teachers, KSTF teaching fellows receive stipends, funding for professional development, grants for teaching materials, and opportunities for leadership and mentoring. Now that you've had a very brief glimpse into the primary benefits of the fellowship, let's consider the eligibility requirements. The fellowship seeks to support individuals who intend to make teaching their primary career. In order to be eligible for the fellowship, applicants must have completed a secondary certification sometime between January of 2010 and September of 2015, with the goal of teaching full-time in a high school science or mathematics classroom no later than the fall of 2015. They must also have no more than 1 year of teaching experience as the teacher of record as of September of 2015. Potential applicants often ask us if we have a minimum GPA requirement, and we do not. However, we do rely on an applicant's transcripts to assess the extent to which they meet our criterion for the potential to develop content knowledge needed for teaching. The selection process for this fellowship is very competitive. If an applicant's GPA is less than 3.0, particularly in math or science courses, they are unlikely to be a competitive candidate for this fellowship. KSTF has 3 criteria that we use to evaluate applications for the teaching fellowship. While we will expand on what we mean by each of these 3 criteria, please note that more detailed information about our selection criteria can be found on our website. The first of our criteria is the potential to develop the content knowledge needed for teaching. Exemplary teachers are able to connect their knowledge of their discipline with the learning needs of their students. Content knowledge for teaching is both broad and deep and is organized specifically for the work of teaching. It includes having the ability to transform expert knowledge for novices, anticipate student difficulties, and build on students' prior knowledge. Although knowledge of the current state of their discipline is crucial for teachers, the content knowledge needed for teaching depends more upon advanced knowledge of elementary concepts than elementary knowledge of advanced concepts. That being said, we expect that fellows will have at least a bachelor's degree in a field connected to the subject they intend to teach. This does not necessarily mean that if you intend to teach math, for example, you must have a degree in math. Some of our math fellows have degrees in engineering or other related fields. But it does mean that you should have significant depth, breadth, and interconnectedness of knowledge from the courses that you have taken. When assessing an applicant's potential in this area, we look at the applicant's response to an essay that addresses the content knowledge needed for teaching and an associated letter of recommendation. Additional potential indicators include, but are not limited to, grades in content courses, how one thinks about the discipline, teaching experience in the discipline, and honors, awards, internships, or other distinctive content-related experiences that the applicant has had. The second criterion focuses on an applicant's potential to develop exemplary teaching practices. Outstanding teachers have mastery of a number of professional skills, such as the ability to communicate clearly, work as a team with diverse groups of people, plan and be flexible. While an applicant's teaching or professional experiences may be limited, we are trying to determine the extent to which an applicant has mastered or will be able to master some of the most important skills demanded of teachers. We look for indicators like an applicant's response for choosing high school science or mathematics teaching as a profession and any efforts they have made to understand the work of high school teachers. We also consider experiences the applicant has had working with adolescents or with teaching and what they have learned from those experiences. Limited experiences with either adolescents or teaching does not necessarily make an applicant less competitive. And conversely, experience teaching or participating in a teacher preparation program does not necessarily make an applicant a stronger candidate. Rather, we will weigh the quality of the insights that the applicant has gained against the experiences that they have had. The third selection criterion is the potential to develop the qualities of a teacher leader. KSTF is committed to the belief that teachers can and should be change agents in education. KSTF seeks candidates who have developed their capacity for collaborative leadership in previous experiences and demonstrate the propensity to continue to develop them as leaders in and from the classroom. Leadership is displayed in an applicant's manner of personal interactions and experiences. For example, we would look for instances where the applicant may have behaved ethically and professionally in difficult situations, mobilized others in an effort to bring about change, held positions of responsibility or authority, or has demonstrated initiative. These three criteria are used throughout the entire application process. In the next few slides, I will talk through that process. There are three phases to the selection process for a KSTF teaching fellowship. The first phase involves submitting an application. Access to the application can be found on the KSTF website, and I will discuss more specifics of the written application in the next few slides. The second phase begins in January when the semifinalists participate in a phone interview with a member of the KSTF staff. The third phase is the interview weekend. This year, the interview weekend will take place in Philadelphia on March 13th and 14th, 2015. We will contact finalists in February, inviting them to participate in this part of the selection process. To begin an application, complete the registration form found on the application portal page. Applicants will need to write 3 essays, upload a copy of her or his resume or CV, as well as unofficial transcripts. The application also requires 3 letters of recommendation. And please note that all applications must be submitted by midnight Pacific Standard Time on October 29th, 2014. As part of the application process, you are required to write 3 essays and obtain 3 letters of recommendation describing how you meet each of KSTF's 3 criteria. Each essay should respond to the prompt and provide evidence of your potential to develop in each criterion. The essay should demonstrate your ability to be reflective and should be grounded in your personal experiences. This will allow us to get to know you as an individual and as a teacher. It is important that you be honest and do justice to how you represent yourself by being selective and thorough rather than broad and superficial. We recommend that you avoid abstract statements or platitudes about teaching and education, jargon, or educational theories without personal reflection. In other words, we want to learn about how you think and what you are thinking about teaching. We encourage you to carefully choose 3 people that have particular insight into your potential to develop in one of each of the 3 areas. Carefully explain the criterion for which you are asking them to write, share this presentation with them, and ask them to share their insights with us. We recommend that you make sure your references understand that we are not looking for 3 general letters of recommendation. Upon completing an application, applicants will be asked to confirm that they are available for 3 mandatory meetings should they advance in the application process. I will discuss the exact dates and provide a brief overview of these shortly. It is very important to note that if an applicant knows in advance that she or he cannot attend any of these 3 meetings, she or he should not complete the application. Following a review of the written applications, semifinalists will be identified. Applicants who are selected as semifinalists will receive an email in mid-December to schedule a phone interview during the month of January. The phone interview will last approximately 1 hour and is designed to help us learn more about you with respect to the 3 criteria. We may ask about experiences that you have written about in your essays or information contained in your resume, transcripts, or letters of recommendation. Following the phone interview, if you are selected as a finalist, we will invite you to participate in a selection weekend in early March. The weekend involves participation in a number of activities starting Friday at 5 p.m. and continuing through Saturday night. The participation in all of these activities for this weekend is mandatory, and none of the activities can be rescheduled. If you cannot be available to travel to Philadelphia at KSTF's expense to participate in the entire weekend, you should not submit an application. If you apply and are selected as a finalist, but determine later that you cannot attend the selection weekend, your application will be declined at that point. Again, the interview weekend this year will be March 13th and 14th, 2015. If you are awarded a fellowship, you will be required to attend an orientation weekend, May 15th and 16th, 2015. Orientation weekend is designed to help new fellows learn more about the fellowship's benefits and requirements. New fellows will have the opportunity to discuss the fellowship with current fellows as well as with KSTF staff. Again, participation in the entire orientation weekend is mandatory, and KSTF covers all expenses. All fellows are required to attend the annual KSTF summer meeting, which occurs the last full weekend in July every year. During this time, fellows have the opportunity to work with others in the fellowship and engage in professional development opportunities that are tailored specifically to our fellows.
This marks the end of the formal presentation. At this time, we'll open the floor for any questions you may have. Questions can be asked in 2 ways. You can submit a question through the chat panel first. Alternatively, you can raise your hand using the right side panel to have your phone line unmuted and ask your question. We'll give you a moment to weigh in with any questions you may have. First question we have is regarding the number of letters of recommendation that are needed.
Each applicant needs 3 letters of recommendation. It's 1 per criteria, so they'd find 1 person to write a letter that would speak to their potential to develop content knowledge needed for teaching, 1 for exemplary teaching practices, and 1 for the qualities of a teacher leader.
The second question is, do you have any advice about whom we should ask for recommendation letters?
My best advice is to read carefully through the website and understand what each of the criterion are asking for and looking for, and think about who could best speak to that for you.
Are there any other questions? Next question is, how many years does the fellowship fund? What expectations come with the first year?
So the fellowship is a 5-year program, and each year we build on the previous year. The expectations within the first year, for every year there are 3 mandatory meetings. The summer meeting where all fellows are, and then in the first year and every year thereafter there's a fall meeting, which is a Friday and Saturday, and a spring meeting, which is also a Friday and Saturday. The fall meeting usually is September, October, November-ish, usually October-ish. And the spring meeting is usually sometime March or April. And again, all of those travel expenses and lodging expenses are paid for by KSTF. And so within that, there's attending the meetings, and we also have an online community that fellows are expected to be a part of and participate in. That involves discussion boards, sharing questions, lessons, ideas, those kinds of things.
Are there any further questions? The next question is regarding eligibility. If you teach middle school math, are you eligible?
Unfortunately, no. The idea is that we are supporting high school grades 9 to 12 teachers. So even if you're teaching a typical high school subject in the middle school, you would not be eligible to apply. There are some rare exceptions that occur for maybe a year, but that's at most. So if you plan on teaching middle school, unfortunately, you would not be eligible to apply at this point.
Okay, I'm going to ask one last time for any additional questions. Last question I see is posted is regarding getting a question of a copy, of the PowerPoint. This will be available on our website likely early next week. In the interim, if you have any questions, there's information shown here on the site. Please visit www.kstf.org/apply. You can find all information about the fellowship, including eligibility, the application process, anything you want to know there. Also, if there's a question that you'd like to actually speak with someone about, please feel free to send an email to apply@kstf.org. And as I just stated, I will place a copy of the recorded webinar on our website next week, and you should be able to look under events for that. If there are no further questions at this time, I'll end today's webinar. Thank you once again for joining, and have a great day.